Few moments in the NBA managed to capture the essence of a narrative shift, quite like that final play against the Lakers. A rookie, overlooked during the draft process, sinking a half-court shot in the final second of the game, silencing one of the league's most legendary arenas. It wasn't just a flashy play. It was a statement, a message to those who hadn't yet realized that Brandon Podziemski is here for more than just playing. He wants to make history. What makes this story even more fascinating is the contrast. Not long ago, he was barely noticed. Now he's becoming a central piece in the renewal process of one of the most iconic rosters in recent NBA history. If the Warriors still dream of extending their dynasty even after the Curry era ends, bet on this. The key to the next chapter has a name and a surname. Podziemski's meteoric rise isn't just luck. It's the result of vision. The same vision that once allowed the franchise to see potential in underestimated players, like Andrew Wiggins, for instance, and now sees, in the kid from Santa Clara, a direct connection between a celebrated present and a promising future. But before diving into what this means for the franchise and the league, we need to go back in time, because understanding what the Warriors are doing today requires understanding how they've always operated. Remember 2018? When the team seemed cornered, with many declaring the end of an era after falling behind in the series against the Houston Rockets, the narrative was almost unanimous. The dynasty is over. Harden's team had supposedly found the formula to dismantle the system. The Warriors were being taken apart, they said, and yet they won. Not with overwhelming spectacle, but with surgical execution. Because when the game demands more than just talent, the greats show who they truly are. That was the moment the world understood. The Warriors don't rely solely on talent. They thrive on identity, consistency, and poise in decision-making, qualities that are now reflected in Podziemski. Fast forward a few years, to 2020, Andrew Wiggins became the butt of jokes. The public opinion, analysts, much of the specialized media, they were all categorical in saying that acquiring him was a mistake. Some even claimed it was the end of the line for Golden State. But in 2022, that same Wiggins reemerged with force, became one of the team's most important defenders, guarded names like Luka Doncic in the playoffs, and helped the team win another title. Redemption was on full display. And once again, the Warriors proved they bet where no one else dares. Now, the pattern repeats with Podziemski. The kid no one expected much from is changing everything. Against the Lakers, it wasn't just the 8 three-pointers he made that stood out, but how he made them. With confidence, timing, game awareness, and of course, that bomb from half-court at the buzzer. That kind of shot doesn't happen by chance. It comes from someone who understands the moment, who feels the game. But maybe the most impressive thing isn't the shot. It's the behavior, the intelligence, the maturity that doesn't match his age. Podziemski plays like someone who's already been through multiple playoff runs, like he already knows where to be, when to move, how to react. He anticipates the game, fights for every possession, sees what no one else is seeing, and that sets him apart. And all of this didn't come just from physical training. It came from studying, from a deep understanding of the Warriors' style of play, one of the most complex and demanding systems in the NBA. To survive in this environment, being promising isn't enough. You have to be cerebral, and he is. What the Warriors have always looked for, more than shooters, is understanding, and Podziemski embodies that pursuit. He's becoming the bridge between what was and what's to come. For a long time, people doubted whether it was possible to balance a celebrated generation with young talent. Many said it was impossible to unite two timelines. But the kid is proving not only that it's possible, but that it may be the exact difference maker to keep the team competitive. And if you like symbols, here's one that speaks volumes. Brandon is the second youngest player in franchise history to make 7 three-pointers in a single game. The only one who did it before him? Stephen Curry in 2010. Coincidence? Maybe. But for those who follow the NBA closely, these repetitions are rarely random. They smell like legacy in the making. What's most interesting is how quickly he's evolved. Even as a rookie, he was already leading the league in offensive fouls drawn, a stat many overlook, but one that represents effort, courage, and tactical awareness. Now, in his second year, he's become a real threat. Not just useful, he's become a decisive piece, someone who can change the course of a game, and that says a lot about him. But it also says a lot about the culture created in Golden State, an environment that doesn't just discover talent, it sharpens it with surgical precision. The game against the Lakers served as a window, not into who Podziemski is today, but into who he could become. A snapshot of a process still in motion, but already bearing remarkable fruit. And perhaps the most frightening part for the rest of the league, he's just getting started. And this is the exact moment when the storyline takes an even more intriguing turn. Because while Brandon is rising and gaining space, rumors are once again circulating behind the scenes of the league. Rumors involving a familiar name, Kevin Durant. The Phoenix Suns star is having a season full of ups and downs. What seemed like a simple ankle sprain lit a red flag. With the Suns fighting to make it through the play-in, KD's absence exposed a major issue. This roster, as it stands, may no longer be enough. And for the first time in a long while, the possibility of change is gaining traction. A change that could have, once again, San Francisco as a destination. Yes, the door for a Durant return to the Warriors, which seemed locked, may never have really been closed. A comment made in an almost casual tone on Draymond Green's podcast reignited the speculation. Durant said that his decision not to return to the franchise wasn't due to a lack of desire, but rather a matter of timing. For those who follow the behind-the-scenes, that was a valuable clue, because now the timing might have changed. Stephen Curry is older. So is Draymond. The window is narrowing. And if the Warriors want one more real shot at a title with their historic core, maybe it's time to act, to think big, to go all in. And Kevin Durant might be that bet. Of course, this story has many layers. The trade wouldn't be simple. The cost, extremely high. To bring Durant back, the Warriors would likely have to part with valuable young talent. And the names being mentioned aren't just any names. Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and yes, Brandon Podziemski. And that's where the narrative becomes complex. Because while Durant represents an immediate title shot, the youngsters represent a solid future. Kuminga is evolving rapidly, Moody is showing consistency, and Podziemski might be the most promising name of the trio. Letting go of him now would be a bold move, but also understandable considering the franchise's current context. And from the Suns' side, the trade could also make sense. Durant, though still lethal, is dealing with injuries. And if Phoenix opts for a rebuild, trading a veteran for a young and talented package might be the best path. Imagine a core with Kuminga, Moody, Pods, and maybe even a draft pick. An immediate fresh start, with moldable pieces already acclimated to the NBA. Meanwhile, in Golden State, Durant would return to an environment he already knows. No need to build chemistry from scratch. He knows the system. He's already won there. He knows how everything works. It would be like slotting a piece back into a puzzle where it once fit perfectly. And for a team in urgent need, that has incalculable value. But of course, every choice comes with sacrifice. And the Warriors are in a delicate moment, between betting on tomorrow or taking one more shot at a title with those who already know the way. What makes everything even more intriguing is how the Warriors' cycle always seems to find a new turning point when everything appears lost. It's no exaggeration to say we're once again standing at that point. The imminent decision regarding Kevin Durant's future, and the possible moves involving young players like Brandon Podziemski, could very well define whether this core still has the energy to chase another trophy or if it's time to change direction. And when we talk about cycles, Podziemski's name carries even more weight, because he's not just a young player with potential. He's the reflection of a culture that isn't built overnight. He's the product of a system that understands talent doesn't always leap out immediately, but the right combination of mindset, environment, and opportunity can transform an average player into a key piece. Behind the scenes, the commentary about him is nearly unanimous. A young man who listens, learns quickly, and absorbs the system as if he were born into it. Players like that are not easy to find, and even harder to develop. What he's doing in such a short time shows there's something special in his trajectory, something the Warriors rarely waste. That's why the idea of including him in a trade, even for someone of Durant's caliber, is not a simple transaction. It's a decision with symbolic weight. It would be like saying that the present matters more than the future, that Curry's time is more valuable than the promise of continuity. And, of course, that the risks of one last dance are worth more than the slow and steady building of a new foundation. The dilemma here isn't just technical, it's philosophical. Because if Durant returns, he fits in like a glove. But at the same time, he could interrupt a renewal process that has been taking shape with players like Kuminga and Pods, and that balance is delicate. The Warriors have always been brilliant precisely because they knew when to accelerate and when to slow down, when to reinvent and when to stay true to their essence. And now, with Curry and Draymond getting older, that balance is even more fragile. Durant, even at 36, is still a lethal weapon. He has one of the most reliable jump shots in the league, a refined understanding of the game, and plenty of experience in crucial moments. But his injury history is starting to take a toll, and his presence on the court, while powerful, demands a series of adjustments that could end up overshadowing the growth of younger players. That's the reality the Warriors must consider carefully. On the other hand, the impact a player like KD would have on a team still led by Steph can't be ignored. History has already shown that this partnership is devastating at its peak. The championships won between 2017 and 2018 were no accident. They were the result of rare synergy, of a fit that may not have been matched since then in the NBA. And even though time has passed, the foundation of understanding between them still exists. The problem, then, is the cost. And here we return to Podziemski's name, because he may be the most symbolic of those who would be involved in a potential trade. He represents the new, the continuity, what could come after Curry. Sacrificing him now would be a high-stakes gamble. And although the return, Kevin Durant, is tempting, there are no guarantees this move would lead to another title. More than ever, this is a decision that will define the franchise's path for the next 5 years. And it won't be made based only on what happens on the court. The Warriors are dealing with something bigger. They're managing the end of an era and the beginning of the next one at the same time. And that requires a sensitivity few teams in the league possess. It's not easy to say goodbye to what once was, but it's also not simple to let go of what could still be. And what makes everything even more dramatic is the timing. Durant may not be available for long. Other franchises are keeping an eye on him, and each solid performance from him reignites the interest of teams that, like the Warriors, are looking for one last push before the window closes. The clock is ticking, and meanwhile, Podziemski keeps growing. With each game, with each possession, he proves he can be more than a solid supporting cast member. He can be a protagonist, not with the same media shine, but with an efficiency that certainly echoes the great names who've made history in San Francisco. The way he moves without the ball, how he finds space where others see obstacles, how he turns an apparently dead play into a concrete scoring opportunity, all of it places him on another level. And that's where the connection with Curry reappears. Since arriving in the league, Steph has changed basketball, not just with his shooting, but with the way he thinks the game. And Podziemski, curiously, shares some of those traits. The intuition, the reading, the courage, the instinct. It's as if, even in completely different stages of their careers, the two speak the same language, and that alone should make the Warriors think twice before including this kid in any trade. What's at stake here isn't just another possible deal. It's the soul of the franchise. Because yes, Durant can deliver an elite season. He can be clutch in the playoffs. He could even help the Warriors win one more trophy. But what then? What's left? Who stays to tell that story? Who carries forward the DNA that took so much to build? Perhaps the answer lies precisely in that name few could pronounce correctly just a year ago. Brandon Podziemski may not have come from a traditional program. He may not have been a flashy name on draft night, but he's already shown he understands the weight of the jersey he wears. And more than that, he seems ready to carry it into the future. And if Durant represents the final chapter of a glorious era, Pods could very well be the first of a new book. The pages are still being written, but one thing is already clear. No decision will be simple, and any choice will carry deep consequences. Whether betting everything on one more immediate title run or trusting patience and development to reap the rewards later on. The Warriors' future is, more than ever, suspended between two eras, one nearing its end, another trying to begin. And at the center of this dilemma are two names that define, each in their own way, what it means to be part of a dynasty: Kevin Durant and Brandon Podziemski. And now, with both names laid on the table, Kevin Durant and Brandon Podziemski, the Warriors find themselves at a crossroads with two paths as distinct as they are symbolic. On one side, Durant's return would be a clear representation of an attempt to close this chapter with a golden touch. It would be a chance to re-edit, even if belatedly, one of the most dominant duos in recent NBA history. Steph and KD together represent an almost unstoppable offense, a type of basketball that no opponent could fully control when both were healthy and focused. It's a bet on the now, on the weight of experience, on chemistry that has already worked. But this choice comes with a clear cost. Not just financial or technical, but symbolic. It involves giving up players who are growing within the culture that has been built with such care. Brandon Podziemski, for example, is not just a promise. He is becoming a reality. With each passing game, each minute on the court, he is further consolidating his position as a key piece for the franchise's future. And giving up on this wouldn't simply be trading a young player for a veteran. It would be a break with what is being built for tomorrow. Scenario 1. The return of Kevin Durant. Let's imagine that the Warriors decide to go all in and bring Durant back. The impact would be immediate. The headlines would explode. Tickets would sell out. The league would tremble at the announcement that the two biggest names of the dynasty, Steph and KD, would be together again for another run. Kerr's system would quickly adjust to Durant's presence, who already knows the shortcuts, the movements, the timing of the game alongside Curry. On offense, opposing defenses would be completely exposed. Durant would attract double teams constantly, freeing up Curry, Wiggins, and even Draymond to operate with more freedom. The spacing would once again be a nightmare for opponents. KD's mid-range game, combined with Steph's perimeter and the tactical movement of the system, would form one of the most lethal lineups in the league. In the playoffs, experience would speak louder. Durant is a player for big moments, someone who doesn't shy away from decisions. And alongside Curry, he would have the confidence needed to shine without carrying the team alone, something that clearly weighed on his recent stints in Brooklyn and Phoenix. But there's a dark side. Durant is injury-prone. His age is beginning to affect his explosiveness and physical endurance. And more importantly, this move would likely require the departure of 2 or 3 valuable young players, including Podziemski and possibly Kuminga, in addition to draft picks. In other words, even if the title comes, the future would be completely compromised. And what if the title doesn't come? The void left after a failed attempt could be devastating. Expensive contracts, the aging roster, the absence of emerging talents, all of this could put the franchise into a rebuilding spiral that would last for years. It would be the risk of trading one final glorious act for a long desert crossing. Scenario 2. A bet on the future with Brandon Podziemski. Now, what if the Warriors decide to resist temptation? What if they keep their young players and continue shaping a new identity? This path is less glamorous in the short term, but it's more sustainable. Podziemski is only in his second year, but he already shows tactical and technical maturity far above the average. His court vision, decision-making, and defensive reading place him in a select group of young players with real potential to become stars, or at least pillars, of a competitive team. By keeping Pods, Kuminga, Moody, and Trace Jackson-Davis, the Warriors would build a solid young core around Steph and Draymond, who could take on more strategic and mentoring roles as they age. The transition would be gradual, smart. The franchise's identity would be preserved. Kerr's system would have time to be rethought, no longer with a sole focus on veteran stars, but on a dynamic and versatile collective. Of course, this path also has its risks. Youth brings instability. The learning curve can be brutal in the NBA. Mistakes will be made. Seasons may end before the playoffs, and the fan base, accustomed to victories, will need patience. But if the front office stays the course, the harvest could be bountiful. Because with players like Pods and Kuminga evolving within a winning system, The chance of creating a new dynasty with the same winning culture is real, and this type of building is rare. It's what differentiates franchises that win once in a while from those that enter history. The weight of the decision. This is the dilemma. Accelerate and try once more with Durant, or trust the seed that has been planted and wait for the time of harvest. The curious thing is that the players themselves seem to understand the importance of this moment. Curry, in recent interviews, has spoken more about legacy than about numbers. Draymond, even though still competitive, already sees himself in a more emotional leadership role. And Klay, despite not being at the center of this narrative, also represents a turning point. The trio that dominated the NBA begins to give way, and it's natural. The cycle is closing, but the Warriors have a rare chance to make this transition with dignity, without collapsing, without needing to go through traumatic rebuilds like so many other franchises have already faced. It all depends on how they deal with the temptation of Durant. Because Durant's return, no matter how epic it may seem, could be the siren's call. And on the other side, Brandon Podziemski, young, quiet, operating between the lines, could be the symbol of a new era about to be born. The decision is approaching, and it won't be simple, nor painless. But great teams are made of these choices, and true leaders don't shy away from them. The NBA landscape is constantly evolving, and one of the moves that has generated a lot of speculation is the potential arrival of Kai Sotto to the Golden State Warriors for the 2025 season. This rumor has been gaining momentum recently, with reports indicating that the team is in discreet negotiations to secure the signing of the Filipino center, who has been making a name for himself in international leagues. If this transaction goes through, it would not only change the game on the court, but also have a massive impact off the court, especially within the Filipino community, which already feels represented by Sotto in many parts of the world. Standing at 2.18 meters tall, Kai Sotto stands out as an imposing presence on the court, but his influence goes beyond his height. He is a complete athlete, whose skills make him one of the most exciting prospects in the NBA. His combination of height, wingspan, and technical abilities is rare. As a defender, Sotto is an effective shot blocker, using his excellent reaction time and long wingspan to protect the rim. But it's not just his defense that catches attention. His offensive ability, especially his mid-range shooting, sets him apart from many other centers in the league. His versatility on offense makes him a key asset for teams that prioritize modern basketball, which demands diverse skills from its players. Kai Sotto's development didn't happen overnight. Born in the Philippines, a country where basketball is almost a religion, he quickly drew attention due to his natural talent and, most importantly, his dedication. His journey as a player began early, but to reach an international level, he had to venture outside his homeland. This led him to play in the National Basketball League, NBL, in Australia, where he faced a much higher level of competition. His ability to stand out in such a competitive setting solidified him as a cornerstone player for his teams, both offensively and defensively. Kai not only proved his worth but also became an icon of Filipino basketball, showcasing the potential of the nation on the global stage. Kai Sotto's journey continued when he moved to the B-League in Japan. There, he had the chance to further develop, facing top-tier opponents while taking the name of the Philippines to new heights. His adaptation to international basketball was remarkable, and his skills as a defender and his ability to represent Filipino culture made him one of the most admired players in the league. Now, with the possibility of joining the NBA, Sotto feels ready to take on the greatest challenge of his career so far, and the team that might help him in this process is the Golden State Warriors, a franchise known for its fast and dynamic style of play. But beyond being an innovative team, the Warriors also have a clear need in their roster: the lack of a dominant presence in the paint. This has been a deficiency that, while the team has overcome it in many seasons with its fast-paced play and three-point shooting, remains an area that could be strengthened. And this is exactly where Kai Sotto fits in. If signed, Kai's impact on the Warriors would be immediate. His ability to grab rebounds, both defensively and offensively, would provide a significant advantage to the team, especially during fast breaks, which are a hallmark of the Warriors' playing style. Additionally, his ability to protect the rim would be a valuable addition to the team's defense. In moments when the team needs a strong presence in the paint, Sotto could be the player capable of making a difference. The Warriors' offense would also benefit from his presence. His ability to shoot mid-range would open up more space for perimeter players, allowing the Golden State team to further explore its fast-paced plays and three-point shooting. Sotto's offensive flexibility is something the Warriors need to continue innovating and remain one of the top forces in the NBA. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Hit the bell to get the latest news firsthand. Thank you for watching and see you next time.